Hey guys, welcome to Flowing Life. I want to welcome everyone that's on the stream and welcome those that are logging in now. Really quick, I want to introduce you guys if you do not already know. Today we're doing an interview with our pastor, Pastor Ty and Lady Taryn. Welcome you guys.
Hey.
Thank you for being here. So today's prayer topic on Thursday is for family. And so we thought it would be a great idea to just get together with our pastors and really talk to them about some of the things that's going on in the world today. I know it's a lot to take in. And so a lot of times people have questions. And so now I think is a good time just to come together and get some practical tips that we can kind of take back to our families and use in our everyday. So I don't want to waste any time, but do you guys have anything to say before I start just throwing questions at you?
No, well, I'll just say I appreciate you for doing this, for putting this together and for heading this up. And again, if anybody has questions, you can jump in the comments and let us know. We are on a restricted time today, so we're only going to be able to take a few, but we'll just go from there. But thank you, Lakia.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. So you guys just let me know if you see a question that we need to answer and we can throw that in there. But first, I want to start with everything that's been going on with COVID-19. And I know a lot of people with children may be having questions about like what type of conversations have you had with your children? How do you explain to them what is going on without instilling fear in them? And so I've seen on Facebook, a lot of people have been asking that question. So I just want to pose that to you guys. What kind of conversations have you been having with your children? I know your children are a little bit younger, but just thinking about all ages, like how could you put this in a way where parents can kind of explain that without having your children be afraid?
It's interesting. Yeah, we do have younger children, and our oldest is 4. She'll actually be 5 this month. And she is more aware of everything that's going on, starting to ask the questions because, of course, she realizes, okay, I've been out of school. And, of course, how that happened, it was very abrupt with, school closing down and her being home. And even for her, it's an adjustment. It's something that and for her, she definitely goes off of a routine, and to come away from that type of routine, of course, it's different feelings, emotions, behaviors, and all of this stuff. And so for us, we did have to and we still do have to communicate that to her, and to really try to break it down at her age level. Of course, you want to be mindful of the age, for each of, whatever child your child is. But for her, I think I, try to share with her, it's kind of like having a cold, having to stay home, and for us even trying to encourage her to wash her hands and making sure that we're covering those areas and the importance of that. And even now she's like, Mommy, I'm counting to 20, I'm counting to 30, as far as washing her hands. And so, as you said, not allowing it to instill fear in her, because there have been a few moments where she'll say, is that the virus or da da da? But but she also knows that we're a praying family. And so even with not only this sickness and the disease that's going around, even with just simple things around the home or stomach ache or headache, that's something that we have been even training her in is, that's okay, if you're feeling this way, let's pray about this. And so even now she'll say, I'm praying against the virus. I'm praying and even calling out some things. And so even for us, it's encouraging to see her take action, but your children are watching. So for us, we want to make sure that we're being the example that we need to be, and so she's starting to mimic us, with certain things and step out and even be praying at 4 years old already.
Yeah, definitely. What's up, Almitra? I see you. Yeah, so she pretty much said all of it, but I'll add to that just a little bit, even as far as her praying. Even yesterday, she reminded me not to fear, because it was something dumb and petty, and not to get into the details of it, I feel like. But so a random bird was dead in our front yard yesterday, And I don't really fool with dead animals. I just don't, like, at all. Especially anything bigger than a roach. Like, I don't, a roach, I can pick it up. But like anything bigger than that, I'm like, yeah. So it's a full grown bird in the yard. So long story short, I had to pick it up, but I was freaking out. And Taylor was like, Daddy, don't be scared. You don't have to fear. And so she was like, Daddy, do you want me to pray with you? And I was like, yes, Taylor, please pray for me right now. But I mean, and it's funny and it's simple, but it's a reflection of what we've been teaching her from a bigger picture and a greater perspective. It's bigger than just COVID, it's just about not having fear about anything. And so she gets that, so she applies it to this also.
That makes sense, because a lot of times you can teach people, and especially children, because like you said, they're watching you all the time, so you can kind of teach them without even saying anything at all. So that's really good. So I know Lady Taryn mentioned something about schedules and being on a strict schedule. Just really quickly, I do want to ask, what how has that been with you now becoming the teacher in some type of way? And I know a lot of parents have been saying, I'm the teacher, I'm the lunch lady, I'm XYZ. How has that been for you guys? Or has that changed at all?
So for no, I have to, first off, I have to say we are definitely a team. And so that has been the greatest thing, being able to come together and basically, like you say, divide and conquer. And so even today with me, working and Pastor having to do work, it's like, okay, let's figure out the best way to get this. And so sometimes we have like what we call like the NBA draft, who's going to take which child and pick and choose. Okay, you take that one, because this work that I have to do is a little more intense this time. And so
we're not going to tell which one.
We're not going to tell them our children. But sometimes we do have to kind of divide and conquer. And so I think it's really important for families, especially married couples, like, come together, try to communicate the needs of what you need, because it has been a definitely a change. Whereas, where we were having this time because they were in school, now it's like they're here the whole day, and then even after work hours, they're still here. So just making sure that we're on the same page, we're communicating, okay, I got this big project that I need to work on. Can you take them for a while, or vice versa? And so making sure that we're coming together, dividing and conquering, and really investing in ourselves as well as our children, not just giving them a tablet and saying, here, watch TV.
That's tempting.
But it's very tempting, and there's nothing wrong with that in moderation. But even for me, I challenge myself on, okay, I'm doing my work, which I have to do, is my job, my career. But I know when my children need attention. And so for me, I think it was maybe a couple of days ago, I was very intentional. After I finished working on my things, I was like, I'm going to spend this time with my children. I'm going to give them my undivided attention. I'm going to lay my phone to the side. And sometimes you feel like, well, they're here throughout the entire day. Like, I'm giving them attention, but those moments where you're really being intentional with your children, and then where they're undivided attention. So there are times where they're in the room, but I might be on the phone. So I'm like, let me set the phone aside, let me focus in, and just making sure we're on the same page with just helping one another.
Yeah, Mr. Burrell said children have a way of leading.
They sure do.
I see you, YP Rich. They do the same thing as well. Yeah. We it was funny, even yesterday, you were saying like, you've been hearing a lot of people saying all the roles that they're taking on with their children being at home. So Lady Taryn, she is the science teacher. She is the math teacher. She's the lunch lady too. She's the custodian. I am the PE teacher. Hold up. And yesterday we had this debate. I'm the geometry teacher too. We had this debate yesterday.
We had to go back and pull out our report cards. Like, what did you get in geometry? I got an A in geometry. What did you get? Okay.
I got a B+, but that's not the point. Anyway. But yeah, so we figure out how to make it work and to balance the time so that this time is not wasted.
And
also.
supporting each other is so important. So if
Rich
you
said
feel
he the principal.
he's
definitely. Oh, I'm always the principal.
So if you know that your spouse is stronger in one area, then the other should support that person, and try to fill in the blanks of the areas where they may not be as strong. Mm-hmm. And even if you're a single parent, I feel like it's so important to have some type of plan, some type of schedule, a skeleton. Of course, all things are not going to go completely as scheduled, but you really have to lay out a plan from start of the day to the end of the day. And I think that that's so important. If you, I would encourage you all to look up block scheduling, something that can at least keep some boundaries in place for you and keep you on the right path. It's not going to always go according to plan, but at least you have some type of skeleton that you can work from. And once you really establish that routine in your home and set that tone and that pace and set up those systems in your home, the children become familiar with it. Like our children know certain time they're running to the table. It's time for lunch. It's time for nap, time to have this quiet time when they wake up for their nap. Most of the time we take them outside. So they have now learned even the flow and the routine, and they'll even remind us, okay, it's time to do this. So, it's some things to be mindful of.
Yeah, I think too, it's definitely, man, that block schedule is so clutch. But I will admit that every day doesn't look like that.
Yeah, Lady Taryn introduced me to block scheduling, and I actually looked it up, and I made one for myself, and it really did help me. It really did, because I'm like, okay, well, I missed that time to do this. I can't go back because that's going to mess up something else. If I have time later on, I will pick it up then. But for the most part, I do like that block schedule, and it does give me now a sense of like, okay, this is, because like you said, you have to be intentional and spend time with people that are here. And so right now it's just me and my husband, but I don't want to be still working every night and not spending any time with him, so that block schedule has made a difference.
Yeah. And I was going to say, you every day may not look like that also, because you have those days where, you feel worn out one day. And then it's like the next day, don't feel guilty for taking that next day to say, you know what, I just need to catch my breath. I just need a break. And for me, I'm not on a complete block schedule, but I do have each individual, every single day of the week, I have, a certain amount of bullets of things that I need to get done for that particular day. And everything is not on every day. So at the end of the day, I look at that, I look at the day and all the points that I have for that day. And I say, did I hit everything for this day? Yes. Perfect. I'm good. I can rest for the rest of the day and not feel guilty about kicking my feet up. Or if I want to get a head start on the next day, then I can do that as well. But it just gives some type of order, especially with kids, because they need it most. And so just like Lady Taryn was saying, with them having that schedule, they know when it's time to take a nap. They're running to the bed. It's not a fight. It's not a fuss. It's not, no, I don't want to. It's right. They know. So they know it's coming. When it's time for lunch, it's not, no, I'm still playing. It's like, no, you already know. When it's time to go to bed at night, they already know, hey, we're going to read a book. We're going to say prayers, and they get in the bed and they go to sleep because they know that this is what comes at that time. Just like when they go to school, they're not going to fight with the teacher. It's like, all right, y'all know it's time to read, or it's time to sit down. It's time, they have that. And so we've been seeing it being effective in our lives. So, I definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Rich said his are not running to bed. His kids are not.
Prayers your way now.
I know how that feels too. So I know that's not normal. It's not normal for kids to run to bed, but that's, that's our story. But I definitely feel people with kids are not, because we've seen that side as well.
That's awesome. One thing that Lady Taryn said that really stood out to me, which kind of transitions to my next question, is she said that you have to support each other. You and your spouse have to support each other. You have to make sure that you guys are on the same page. So another question that I've been seeing is now that the state is opening back, a lot of states are opening back up. What type of conversations, if you've had this conversation, or what would that look like, you know, if one spouse may be ready to just jump back in and go out and be out and about, and the other spouse may not be, what advice would you give a couple that may be having that or needing to have that conversation now that the state is opening back up?
I'll answer that one, and just for everybody watching, we do have to end in 10 minutes.
I can stay a little bit longer if you guys can.
Oh yeah, we got an extension. Yes, we got some bonus time. All right. We'll still. I do want to talk more about the latter end of some of the other questions you have, and so I'm gonna try to answer this one relatively quickly so we can hit some of the social injustice stuff. But along those lines, I always feel like you have to be on the same page with everything. By everything, I don't mean, hey, babe, what am I going to wear today? All right, I'm in agreement. You're going to wear white shirts, so I'm going to wear blue shirt, whatever. But I'm saying we didn't plan this white shirt thing. And y'all obviously planned something and didn't let me in on it. But I was the first one to do it because I had it on Sunday. So anyway, for whatever that's worth. So, but no, I feel like you have to be any major decision, and this is a major decision. Essentially, it's life and death. And I know everybody's not seeing it that way, but if you look at the numbers and where they are and how many people have died, it is a matter of life and death. And so I feel like this is one of those things that you have to be on the same page with. And I always feel like, and we agree, that anything that is important to your spouse also needs to be important to you. And so even if you feel like, oh, this is petty, you know, why are we doing this? You know, everybody's out, you know, they're opening up and, you know, they put the, you know, law out and they've lifted the restrictions and all that. But if it's important to you, it needs to be important to me. For me, it's not necessary. For me, I'm not as dogmatic about taking a sanitizer bath when I come back in from going outside. I'm not saying going to work. I'm not saying going out to the grocery store. I'm saying, like, if I go out to get the mail and just come back in, I might wipe it down, but I'm not going to take a sanitizer bath. My wife is completely different. She'll meet you at the door. She's like,
give me those hands.
Right. Right. I'll lean in for a kiss and she's, don't touch me, don't. Like, she doesn't want to touch me. She doesn't want to touch my phone. She's like, kick your shoes up. But
I feel like it brings good balance to us. Though.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, it's laughable. And some might think it's extreme, but if I see that that's how serious she is about it, then it's like, okay, well, let me meet her in the middle with this. And it's always important to have that middle ground. But for the person that's extreme, you also need to be flexible with what your spouse is saying. So if they're saying, hey, I can't take it, I'm bugging out, I feel incarcerated, I need to get out of this house, meet them halfway. Say, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna let you go, but meet me in the middle. Don't go to the dirty store. Don't go to the store that you know is not sanitizing stuff. Don't go to the store that you know is not taking the precautions. Don't go to the stores that are not practicing social distancing. Don't go to the stores where nobody's wearing a mask. Meet me in the middle. Go to a store that you know is also taking those precautions. And that's how you can kind of, you know, bend and meet each other in the middle.
Yeah, I think sometimes, you know, when it comes to this topic and, you know, having one spouse that wants to go and one wants to stay, like Pastor said, meeting in the middle. But I think sometimes because we kind of avoid having the conversation or communicating about it, and we just want to assume that the other person knows what we're thinking, or we try to give off this type of behavior towards them so they can catch the hint about certain things. But what it really comes down to is having just talking about it, just saying this is, and taking ownership of your feelings and your emotions and get to the root of why you feel that way. Exactly. So I'm feeling this way because, you know, I just want us to make sure that we're being safe and not really wanting to bring anything home. So this is why. Have children and we also have children. So the way that you're communicating it to one another, I feel like is very helpful so that you can meet in the middle and, you know, just make sure that you're on the same page.
Of course. Can I say this too before you jump in? If any of you guys watching have any questions, you guys can jump in as well. It's an interview, but it's a Q&A also. So if you have any, you guys can jump in the comments.
Yes. I would totally agree. I know really quickly, my husband and I we have had to have this conversation because he's an essential worker. So he's a first responder. So he still goes to work every day. He's still out in the community. And for me, I've been at home ever since March with the dog. And so it's just us. I may go to the grocery store. So we've had to have that conversation, and we've had to come to a common ground and say, okay, this is what we're both comfortable with. So let's start here and then work from here. So I would totally agree with you guys. For the next topic, I do want to switch over to a lot of what our timeline and social media and news has been consumed with for the past couple of days. And I know Pastor gave a message on Sunday. I Can't Breathe. If you haven't watched that, please go back and watch that. It was really good. The first question that I really want to ask you guys is kind of similar to the first question I asked when it comes to everything that's been going on and the social injustice and what comes along with being a Black person. What kind of conversations have you guys been having with your children? How do you explain to them what is going on and the seriousness of it without invoking fear or anger towards other people?
Honestly, that is tough. It's tough. And it is a conversation that, and if I could be completely honest, it's a conversation that my wife and I have tried to push back as far as we can. We've tried to avoid having to have that conversation for as long as we can. For anybody who doesn't know, our daughter is our oldest child is 4, about to turn 5 this month. And some might say, hey, that's too late. You should have caught her already. Some might say, that's a little bit too young. They don't really know. And this is the reason why we've been debating about when and how, because at that age, and especially even her personality, she's the type that when she learns a new thing, she wants to tell everybody. Everybody. I mean, like the last 2 weeks, she's been walking around randomly saying, hey, LOL means laugh out loud. I mean, telling everybody just randomly. And I mean, and it's cute, but then when you consider something very serious, for the record, we've had the conversation with her about Santa Claus. And so, but the way we explained it was Santa Claus is like Mickey Mouse. We went to Disney, we saw Mickey Mouse. She understands that it's somebody in a costume. And so we kind of took it from that angle. Santa Claus is, you understand there's somebody in a costume. He is a character similar to a cartoon. So that's her understanding. And so even when she explains that to other kids, if she explains it in that way, their hearts are not broken, their lives are not torn apart, you know, because they also understand, okay, it is, but we still believe he's real. At least other kids. So when it comes to her color or the color of her skin, it's hard to have that conversation because we know that she's going to go up to her non-brown and Black friends and say, hey, I'm Black and you're white. You know what I mean? And what does that look like? You know, when it's very innocent, but when the teacher overhears it, how does she hear it? And then we're putting the power in the teacher's hands to correct it and say, no, you can't talk about that. Or yes, you should. You know what I'm saying? And so it's been very hard to have that conversation, but it is a conversation we need to have very soon. But our angle, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but our angle with it is that she and children definitely need to know their color. Right now, she doesn't know color.
It's starting to make sense now. Like
she goes to right, daddy. Exactly. And so even when the song brown skin girl, like I was hesitant to let her hear it because I knew that she was going to be singing it at school, which for most people might not be a problem. But when you understand that she goes to a very diverse school, she goes to a school that is, I think it's predominantly white, but if I had to guess, I want to say her classmates are probably 60% white. You still have a percentage of Asian and Indian also. And so just being mindful of what she's around, she doesn't know that they're a different race or a different ethnicity. And so our angle, we do want her to understand who she is and be proud of that. But then also when we explain, hey, you have to understand that everybody in the world is not nice. Everybody won't treat you fairly. I might be jumping ahead into another question, but I guess I'll just kind of leave it there for right now. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add to that, especially with everything that has been happening. For me, it has given me a better perspective or a greater perspective and what I want to make sure I'm instilling in my children.
Right. Yeah.
And so for Taylor, our 4-year-old, who will be going to kindergarten, and she's going to a new school.
Older kids.
It's older kids. It's a smaller school. She may be, I don't think it's like that many. I think it's majority Caucasian at the school, but for her, I think for me now, I really want to make sure that I am teaching her about the color of her skin and allowing her to embrace it and to really not be ashamed of it. I think also something else I recently started doing was investing more in books that have people of color and people that look like her.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's so amazing to see how she is responding to that. So for us, that's kind of where we're starting. We're showing her, you're brown, and here are some books, here are some things, even cartoons that you can watch that really speaks to who you are.
But it's very organic though.
Yeah.
It's very genuine. It's not like a cold stop and say, look, we need to have this conversation right now. Right. It's very natural. Just allowing her to see people that look like her. The second thing that I wanted to add to that is that we want to teach her right from wrong.
That's right.
Point blank, period.
Yeah.
A lot of things are black and white, but everything is not black and white, but everything is right and wrong. And so if we can teach her those core values to say, and because if you teach her right and wrong, you don't have to tell her, look, this is right because it's a black person and this is a white person. This is wrong because this is a white person on a black person. But right and wrong is you should not have done that regardless of if it was an Asian person, a white on white person, a black on black person. And I'm not, this has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. That's a whole separate category. This is just right and wrong, just teaching those core values of right and wrong. So when she grows up and she sees wrong happening, it won't be, well, they don't look like me, so I'm not concerned. You're not apathetic to somebody else, to injustice done to somebody else. But instead, it's like, no, that's not right. Even if it's a white person on a white person, hey, I need to say something about this. This is not okay. And when you have those core values of right and wrong, I feel like then you can make the best decision, whether it's based on your complexion, your skin color, your race, your ethnicity, or just, hey, just I as a human deserve better. And I'm not going to I'm not going to sit here and let you walk on me, regardless of if I were black or another race. I can't let you do this to me because this is not right. So even if she's in the classroom and her teacher does or says something, she won't come back to us and say, my white teacher said this to me because I'm black. She'll come back and say, my teacher said this and I just didn't feel right about it.
That's a good point. A lot of people, and something I firmly believe that I've been seeing a lot of is that it starts at home. A lot of, how people are today is because of how they were raised. And I do firmly believe that. So the last 10 minutes, I just want to really give you guys free reign to just speak on the social injustice that you see. My last question was around, like, I feel like America's had a really sobering moment with the murder of George Floyd. And I feel like we have a lot of people's attention, people of all color. We have a lot of people's attention. A lot of people have, not that they weren't woke before, but I feel like they're paying attention now. And so a lot of people have been asking, well, what can I do now? What do I do now? And some people have actually, like, oh, well, we need a leader. We need someone to come out here. But like, for the person that is asking, what can I do right now? What practical tips or what advice would you give someone that is looking to take action right now?
So let's answer that question first, and if we have anything else to finish with, that might very well take up the whole 10 minutes. So I'll start by saying this. One thing I can appreciate about what's going on right now that I think is unprecedented and doesn't look like anything that we've ever seen, not just in our lifetime, But if you trace back your parents, their parents, our ancestors, what they probably have never seen before is the racial makeup of what the people look like that are out there protesting, the diversity, you seeing white, Asian, Indian, Latino, Black, seeing everybody out there, and in some cases seeing more Caucasian people out there than Black people.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking about protests, I'm talking about rioting too. I'm talking about looting too. I'm talking about demonstration, all of that. We're seeing a diverse group that I don't think that we've ever seen before. And that's the thing that I do applaud, is that people from, globally, not just our nation, but globally, people are acknowledging, hey, this is not right. Regardless of who it is and what's happening, it's not right. So that's one thing I definitely applaud. As far as what we can do, I think people are getting tired of just seeing, hey, this is not right. Hey, we shouldn't be doing this. Hey, this is wrong. Hey, lock them up. Okay, all right, we're past that. The moment of solidarity, the kumbaya, the have a candlelight vigil, that part is past. That's done. That's old. What can we do to now see effective change? More than just somebody going to jail, more than just a death penalty, more than just the 4 officers being convicted. Because after that's done, we're going to be back next month or next year. We're going to be out here again. So what can we do, right? And so this is my thing. I just have 2 things, and these are probably my top 2. The first and foremost is vote. I know right now everybody's like, oh, we want to see change happen right now, but change is not always immediate. Do the things that we need to do right now, which is what we're doing. We're voicing, you're voicing your opinion. You're stepping across the aisle, and talking to other races. Hey, let me go talk to my white brother. Let me go talk to my Asian sister. Let's have these conversations. These are things that we can do right now. Even the protests, and for me personally, I'm all for peaceful protests. Go out and protest. We're seeing change happen in our in where we came from, Richmond, Virginia, where now they're about to rip down some of the Confederate statues. It's incredible. It's incredible, the power of protest. And that's not to take away from the violent protest, because that, of course, that brings about immediate change. But I'm just saying, for me personally, for people to protest. But we see the effects of that. People going out into the streets and saying, we're not going to stand for this. That's something you can do now. Like I said, voting, of course, that's something that I encourage everybody to do. But if you're the person who says, hey, I can't vote for whatever reason, I have a record, penalty, whatever the case is, you can write a letter. Even if you're the person that said, for whatever reason, you can't go out and protest, you can't stand, at the monument or at the White House, whatever it is. If you can, then go. If you can't, you can still write a letter to your local government saying, hey, this is not right. This is not okay. Some of them will not hear protests. Some of them will not hear violence or looting. Some of them will not hear you banging on their doors saying, I need to have a meeting with you. But they have to acknowledge your letter. They have to acknowledge your emails. They have to respond in a certain time frame. And if they don't, then you are allowed to go over top of their heads to see to it that your voice is heard in that way. And so there are definitely ways that our voices need to be heard and things that you can do to bring about. But the biggest thing is to vote. We can protest, we can do demonstrations, we can be violent, we can be peaceful, we can talk about it all day. But if you don't vote, ultimately there will be no change. There'll just be a moment in history where we had a big coming together, and then everybody goes their separate ways once number 45 stays in office because we didn't vote, and then we're still divided.
I think you said a whole lot. I definitely agree with the voting and just educating yourself.
Definitely.
Wherever you may live, the laws of your state, or your county, all of those things I feel like are very important. And so even for us, we're taking that extra step to make sure that we're educating ourselves on council members and, whenever you have your different votes for your area and stuff like that. So for me, I'm making sure that I'm taking that extra step. What are they supporting? What are they, what are they standing for and all of that? And so we have to do our part as far as that. And just even, social media is so powerful now to where you're seeing it everywhere. Like the number, the texting, being able to text and really let your voice be heard, getting involved that way. I think, what was it? Yesterday, I believe I saw something where it's even talking about a petition for these new law that they're trying to push, as far as making sure in situations that, you know, happened with George Floyd, just different laws that can now make a difference going forward. And so don't, you know, I understand you do have to have balance when you look at social media, but I think it was yesterday that someone was saying that they're finding out more about everything that's happening on social media versus the news. And so I think it's important that you don't just turn your eyes and your ears off, but you need to hear it. You need to see it. Make sure that you're doing it in balance, because it can be overwhelming and you do need to have that turn off button, but don't become so blinded and blurred that you're not paying attention and you're not doing your part and getting involved. However, God is leading you to. Ultimately, you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is what God has told you to do. He may not tell you to go out and do peaceful protests. He may say, no, write the letter. No, go and have a conversation and go just open yourselves up to meet somebody. And so just be open to however God wants to lead you in what your part is.
I was gonna say, I totally agree with everything that you guys are saying. I had a moment a couple of days ago where I just couldn't, for the life of me, I couldn't understand why I was so angry and what was going on. And my husband and I actually had to have a conversation and like just get out all these thoughts and talk it through. And the last thing that I came up with was kind of like what you guys were saying, is like, I think Lori said it on one of the interviews that we did previously, that you guys did previously. Like, all I can do is control what I can control. I think that's what she said. And it was like, what I can control is making sure that I get out and vote, making sure that I know the people that hold office in my state and what they stand for and what are they doing to help people like me. And just making sure that we get those people in place. And I think, like Lady Taryn was saying, making sure that you are doing your part in the way that you feel led, because there are, even though you may not be a protester, you may not, you may want to do something other than getting out and vote. I feel like, you know, building up our community and making sure that we have good role models in place. Like, so if you are a public speaker, or if you are someone that works in the bank or in public settings, we still need those people. So you are still important. And as long as you're doing your part in whatever that may look like, you know, we still need those type of people. And so don't think that just because you're not out there protesting that you're not doing your part, because like I said, we still need people to build up our community. And if you're one of those community organizers and leaders, then you are doing your part, you know?
And if I can piggyback on that with a couple minutes that we have left. So one of my, and let me say, I have a lot of white friends, and I can't tell you how proud I am of a bunch of mine. I've seen a lot of people's timelines that people have been silent, but on my timeline, my white friends have been sticking up. They've been coming through. They've been posting and expressing their anger over what's going on and saying it's not right. Specifically, one that I saw yesterday, one of my friends, he called out somebody on his page that was talking real ignorant. And then when he posted it, the person got back on there and started commenting and started going at it again. And I told him, and he's a white guy, I told him, I said, you are just as important as the Black civil rights leaders that are standing on the front line, because we need you to talk to your people as well. That's just as important. That's just as important as what we're doing. You need to go to your people also and say, hey, I look like you. We come from the same background, but this is not right. Because if we're just saying it to them, then they don't hear it. But when your own says it, when one Black man says to another Black man, hey, I agree, we should be out here protesting, but I'm not going to stand back by you and watch you throw rocks at the police. It means something totally different. It does. Right? And so it's just as important. Last thing, there was another story where an NFL player, he's in a grocery store, an old white lady walks up to him and just says, hey, I just want to tell you, I'm so sorry for everything that's going on. I love you. I appreciate you. And he gives her a hug. She just wants to tell him, because she's going out of her way just to tell every Black man that she loves him. Little did she know that he's an NFL player and the influence that he has. The story ends up making it across the nation because of his influence he posted online. This one simple act that she did, right? This one simple act. And so that's my thing, is like, everybody is important. You have a voice. And so now the one thing that you can do is continue to love people. Yeah. Reach across the aisle, find a white person and just say, hey man, I still love you. You know what I mean? You're white friend. This is not the time to be mad at them and to burn down a bridge. This is the time to say, let's have those conversations. And then, you know, ultimately, and I know this might be very controversial, and I'm gonna be really bold in saying this. Before I'm a Black man, I'm a Christian. I am a man of God. Before I am a Black man, my decisions do not come from me being a Black man. My decisions come from my relationship with God. And so I would encourage people as well, similar to what Lady Taryn said, being led by the Spirit. I encourage people as well that at any point in your protesting, at any point in you trying to push laws, at any point in your anger, if you feel like, look, this I am compromising my core values, then you should not do it. I don't care if people your same color are saying, well, you Black too, you need to be out here with us turning over cars. No, that goes against what I believe. I'm a man of God first. You know, my walk with God is first before the color of my skin. And so with that, I choose to love people, and I choose to see past, I see color, but I see past color, and choose to love people. That's something you can do right now. It don't cost nothing. It don't take 5 months. You can do that today. You can love people.
That is true. Do we have any other questions or anything before we go?
No.
Lori said, period.
Period.
Period. No, but this, I mean, but just like what we're doing now, I think this is essential, and this is important. Not just us, but I mean, on Sunday, crossing the aisle. Yeah. Talking to people you would normally talk to, talking to other races, other ethnicities, other ages. You know, talking to people older and younger, and bridging those gaps and having these conversations like what we're doing right now. Yeah. So thank you, Lakir, for coordinating this, and hopefully we'll have more conversations to come.
Yeah, well, this was great. I thank you guys for taking the time to even have this conversation. I do want to encourage you guys, anyone that is watching right now, if you're watching at a later time, to please go back and watch our last sermon last Sunday. I Can't Breathe. Like I said, that was really good. And I think it put into perspective a lot of what's going on right now. And we also have service on Sundays at 10 a.m. Facebook Live, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. So you guys are always welcome. We would love to have you, and our lifers will welcome you as if you were one of our own. Pastor, do you have anything to say before we go? First,
just continue to you know, we definitely need prayer. I know, of course, with protesting and doing your part, you can't neglect staying prayerful, you know, and in this moment, in this day and time that we're in. So we're going to pray, but we're also going to, you know, put some feet and some action, prayerful and practical, which is what, you know, we're putting out. So yes, make sure that you're seeking wisdom from God on what you need to do and the conversations that you need to have. I can't stress that, you know.
And my ending note would just be to just simply love people. Yeah. People need to see that. Again, you know, white people don't owe us anything. They don't owe us a thing. Reparations, like, they don't owe us a thing. But we have to sometimes go out of our way to cross that bridge and say, you know what, since you're not coming to my side, I'm gonna come over to your side. And not like I'm coming to your side to burn it down, like I'm coming to your side so we had this conversation. I love you, and even if you tell me you hate me, I still love you, because at the end of the day, we're not going to bring about change with hate. We're not, regardless of how we're treated, it's not going to change anything. But when you love, I'm gonna say this: when you love the hell out of people, yes, that's what
that's what happens.
It turns stuff upside down.
It turns it around. It turns it around. Right.
That's what love will do. Yeah. And those people will go home and they'll say, man, I gave it my best shot destroying them, and they told me I love you.
I've seen that happen.
It changes people. So I just encourage you to love people, to love people that look like you, and to love people that don't look like you. And that's the thing that's going to change our world. Yes. Not just our race, our world.
Okay. Well, thank you guys again so much. Thank you for everyone that is watching. If you have comments or questions, you can still leave them and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody.
All right.